Hello and welcome to Odessa. This is Dresden's Tale, an adventure where we follow the exploits of a dwarven warrior named Dresden Fane. I'm your guide, Lewis Nichols, and thank you for joining us. This is episode 5 in the series, bringing us to chapter 4. It's the 9th day of Oot, 2051 days after the fall. And it's about a week later after our last entry, where we saw Dresden getting his first real fight. Now, certainly, he's grown up in that in a rough and tumble kind of world. He'd be involved in the blooding of the pigs, where young warriors are exposed to a little taste of carnage by having to slaughter hung pigs in a chaotic ritual. He would have been, involved in wrestling tournaments and fist fights and rock throwing contests. All the things that an abusive civilization would put their children through to find the toughest warriors and give them training to carry on the tradition of violence against their neighbors. If you haven't figured it out by now, I'm not exaggerating. We are telling the tale of the bad guys here. As lovable a character as Dresden may be sometimes, and as much as I hope you get attached to all these wonderful characters, they are growing up in a world of violence and oppression. So, while I try to keep the foul language under control, and there's nothing particularly explicit that I describe here, it is violent. It's not something necessarily for the kids. I would prefer to think of it as rated R, although in today's world it's probably much more of a PG-13. But as an adult, you certainly need to take a listen to what I have to offer before letting the kids get involved. I do deal with some mature manners, and I don't want anybody to think I actually condone the terrible things that goes on in my story, but it is the story I have chosen to tell. Now, after that unexpected tangent, we join Dresden in the ruins of a conquered town. He asks a local guardsman there, "Does this town have a name?" "Conquered, just like the rest." It had never been a particularly big settlement, probably a few thousand people by Dresden's estimate. There were homes and apartment blocks, a few storefronts and some workshops. Most of the town was burnt up, had burnt during the invasion. Whatever the town's business had been, that was long past. Now, piles of stone and scavenged lumber were laying around near the road, very organized, ready for wagons on their way back home to bring home the spoils of war. Marble, granite, desert pine, scrub oak, piles of captured finished goods that still hadn't been transported home yet. All of it bound for the victorious Celts. Dresden, being the thoughtful guy that he is, wondered if the little town would ever rise from its own ashes. It was in a good spot, plenty of water, well water, enough greenery around to keep a large herd of goats well fed. It was right on the main road to Orlok's Cove. It had a chance. There were 3 Celt compounds on the remains of the town. One, the biggest one, run by the doomed clan. The other 2, both adequate among themselves, one run by the Bantran's clan and one by the Stone clan. Dresden and the rest of the caravan were on a break, getting the oxen watered and a little bit to eat. It's a slow-moving caravan, and they were taking some time to recuperate. He was in the Stone Clan compound, relaxing, watching a class. Some of the captured Hessian peoples being taught by a white-furred tigara of Arowatts descent. His fur was color of dirty snow except for a big black spot around one eye. He asked the class, name the major theological difference between Madrilla and Emerald. When no one answered, he pointed a hard wooden shaft toward one of the adult students. Emerald is, she's the goddess of bats and swat. The teacher hit her hard, making Dresden jump. Of course, if it was strictly up to him, the students probably wouldn't be around to receive the punishment. There was a long philosophical debate between Kelds about what to do with converts, or whether they should be accepted into society or whether they should just be sacrificed immediately after their lands are conquered. No one really thought that children who'd never had a chance to learn should be included in that sacrifice. There was plenty of opportunity to adopt them into existing houses, to teach them, to train them. But Dresden often thought it wasn't worth the time to convert an adult who had spent his whole life worshiping a heretic faith. To some extent, the whole affair had become big business in the Keld Empire. A industry revolved around kidnapping heretic children from lands that had yet to be conquered, to trading them to houses for favors or for cash sometimes. There was the transport of sheep, as they were often called, conquered people, to the conversion camps. It was all part of the great Keld religious machine. And whether he was right or wrong, all philosophical questions set aside, Dresden certainly admitted that the priest was dedicated. Next, he pointed to a young Equirta. Now, Equirta are a centaur-like species. They're velito. They are levelable. There's lots of them back on Moldav. They're one of the more successful species as far as numbers go. This particular one was of Hessian ethnicity, of course. He was nervous, but he answered. Emerald rules those places permanently shrouded in darkness. Madrilla reigns in the briefness of shadows. She brings the darkness, whereas Emerald strikes from it. The priest nodded. Very good. Perhaps someday you'll make a worthy servant to one of them. He tossed the young Equirta a bit of bread. The boy devoured it like a starving dog. Never gonna happen, Dresden said to no one in particular. Once you break them, how can they ever be contributing members of society? We're intentionally creating proles. They're better off dead. Karen, a human woman, disagreed with him. She's one of his fellow caravan gods. She explains, but if they convert and become good proles, then maybe in their next life they can be honorable warriors. Whatever, Dresden said. Proles don't get reincarnated. He intended to look her in the eye, but instead gazed at her cleavage. She wasn't particularly attractive, but one of the only 3 females among the guard group. Public nudity and sexual openness were not unusual among the Stone Clan. Karen had unlaced her top as soon as they'd come to rest. Dresden had seen a lot of breasts in his short life, but they still distracted him. She leaned forward and popped him in the forehead with her knuckles. "Hey, stop staring. It's too hot to even think about sex." Dresden blushed. "I didn't mean," he stuttered. "Sorry." He felt panic running through him and knew that he just needed to shut up. They all were relaxing against a pile of stacked stone blocks. Dresden was beginning to think he was getting used to the heat, or maybe it was actually a little bit cooler closer to the coast. Also, it could have been the minor temple warden who kept offering them water. This Equirta was definitely of Moldav option, marked by vertical stripes, and no matter what the reason, Dresden didn't feel so put out right now. It was starting to feel like his adventure was actually something useful, something interesting. But every time his mind wandered, he regretted that he had missed out on the Hessian War. It had been 5 years ago, almost to the day, that a Keld army marched through the town they were in, beginning the cleansing. He was 11 then. He could remember all the excitement running through the clan. The doomed had sent cavalry. The Campbells trekked 1,000 miles to join the fray. Tornadoes, plague, maraudin, black flags, legends, Bantrans, they all joined the Stone Clan in the assault. All of the first clans functioning as one unit. It was a war for his friends' older brothers and younger fathers. The questers still sought the stones, and even as the holy duty entered its last phases, a new saga was beginning. No longer were the heroes the exception. Everybody had a chance now. Questers led humanity out of the squalor of the holy city of Patronsburg, and civilization was thriving. An army of 25,000 cut the squabbling Hessian city-states in half. Many of the heretics believed that Kelds came to support their goals, but by the spring of 2047, that ruse was already becoming a joke. In the summer, they informed their allies that they were to arrest all Selt priests and submit to Keld rule. For a year, the North suffered from assassinations and raids, always followed by the promise of peace. Meanwhile, the South was decimated. Finally, in 2048, the final assault destroyed what was left of the mainland Hessians. 2/3 of the population was killed during those 3 years. But the 10,000 who survived now had a legitimate chance at a righteous life. Eventually, they would build a navy to invade the mysterious Hessian islands. He'd been too young for round one, but prayed he could get in on the next one. So, that's it for chapter 4. Had a little bit of interaction there, a little bit of history, a little bit of culture. Dresden is starting to get used to his duties on Odessa, starting to find some usefulness, starting to interact with people a little bit. Next week, we're going to continue that. Small spoiler, we're finally going to make it to Orlok's Cove and check things out there. I hope you all are thinking about joining me, continuing the series. And this is the part of the video where I ask you to do the stuff. Hit the like button, subscribe, come visit me, buy the book. There's all kinds of ways to help me out. I have a Patreon page. Any comments that you leave, both negative or positive, would be welcome. I wish you all a very happy day, and I will see you next time.